So once the pollination process is completed, next it will go to the process of fertilization. So let's see how fertilization takes place in a flowering plant. So same definition is same only. Fertilization is nothing but the fusion of male and female gamete so that it can form diploid zygote within the embryo sac. So usually in flowers, okay, the fertilization is called as double fertilization. Fine. So now let's see what is the mechanism of fertilization. Mechanism of fertilization. So now already we know that during the pollination process, what is going to happen is the pollen grains will deposit over the female reproductive system, that is the stigma of the carpel. Correct? So the first process over here will be what? Deposition of pollens on stigma via pollination. So now what is going to happen is after the deposition, the second step which will take place is this pollens will absorb water. So after absorbing water, what will happen to the pollen grains? They will swell, then they will germinate, and they will produce a structure called as pollen tube. So once a pollen tube is produced, what happens to this? The pollen tube will grow. Pollen tube grow into the stigma. Okay, so this pollen tube, which is initially starting at the tip of that particular carpel, so it will grow into the stigma. Then from the stigma, it will pass through what? The style, and then finally it will reach to the ovary, which is the final, part where the pollen grains are to be deposited. Okay, so this is how the growth of the pollen tubes takes place. So once the pollen tube passes through the stigma, style and ovary, the fourth step which happens is what? Now each pollen grain, it consists of what? Two male gametes. So what will happen to these two male gametes? They will be going through this particular pollen tube. Through pollen tube. And where they will reach is the ovary. Okay, so they will pierce the ovary and then they will go inside this particular thing. So now here what happens is a pollen tube consists of a different kind of structure. Okay, so that we are going to see in detail. So once this two male gametes, they reach the ovary, the pollen tube will pierce the tip of that particular ovary, or you can say the egg apparatus, and it will release the pollens inside. Okay, so obviously what will happen is when the tip of the egg apparatus is ruptured, okay, this pollen tube also ruptures and releases the two male gametes. So the fifth step is rupturing of tube to release male gametes. So now I told you two male gametes are there, correct? So what happens next is one male gamete will fertilize egg and it is going to form what? A diploid zygote by the process of syngamy. So what will happen to the second one? The second male gamete will fuse with two polar nuclei to form triploid primary endosperm, which is also called as 3N. Okay, so see, I told you here the fertilization which takes place is what? Double fertilization. So why it's called as double fertilization? Because two male gametes are there, two times fusing happens over here. Okay, and plus it's called as triple fusion. So the entire name of this process is what? Double fertilization, triple fusion. So double fertilization is because two times whatever the two male gametes are there, they fuse to different thing. One is to the ovary to form the zygote, and another is due to the what? Polar nuclei, so that it can form an endosperm. So usually that two polar nuclei, see, already what? Two nuclei is present in the polar nuclei. So 2 plus 1 nuclei of the male is equal to what? 3. So hence this is called as what? Triple fusion. Okay, hence the name of this fertilization which happens in a flowering plant is called as what? Double fertilization, triple fusion. Okay, so usually if you see a egg apparatus, so it will be having eggs over here. Okay, plus two polar nuclei will be there. And plus on the upper part, it will be having antipodal cells. So these are antipodal cells. Okay, this is the polar nuclei and this is the egg. Okay, so this is how the fertilization process takes place. So, so once this double fertilization, triple fusion happens, next what happens is the formation of fruits and seeds. Fine. So now how this formation of fruits and seeds take place. So the first step over here is whatever fertilized egg is there, they will divide several times and they will form embryo within the ovule. Ovule is nothing but the seed. So once within the ovule, whatever the embryo is been dividing, after that what will happen to this ovule? It will develop tough coat and gets converted into a seed. Okay, so all the fertilized eggs in the ovules present in a ovary will become what? Seed. Okay, so whatever fertilized eggs are present in a ovary, finally what they are going to become is nothing but a seed. Now, when this process has happened, third step what it will happen is ovary of the flower will develop into a fruit. So fruits, like the seed is having hard seed coat, it will be hard. But the fruits will be generally what? Soft, fleshy, juicy. Correct? Okay. Next, after this process, what will happen is whatever petals or say sepals, okay, stamen, whatever parts are there, style, everything will fall off. Okay. Then fifth one is the fruit will protect the seed. Okay, because now you know that when you take the seed out of the fruit and plant it, it will give rise to a new plant or a baby plant. So again, what will happen is if you take this seed from it, the next sixth step will be what? A baby plant will develop. That is baby plant from seed, that is nothing but shoot and root. So shoot is nothing but the plumule and root is nothing but the radicle. Okay, so the seed, what it does is it stores the food, which is so that it can be taken by this baby plant to grow. So that part is called as what? Cotyledon. Okay, stores food. So under different water, air, temperature, light, whatever conditions are there, this plant will undergo the process of germination. And again, what will happen is another plant will grow. This is how the entire process of pollination and fertilization takes place in a plant.